Hi, allow me to present this topic on data science in actions. But before we start, we just want to make sure that everybody is clear about what data are we talking about. Right. So normally I would like to start off with a Mentimeter to get some response from my audience to know what do they understand by data. And a lot of time, the kind of message or response that I got is they thought that data is actually information. Right? If you look at data science, we actually define data as a raw form, which is either in text, characters, or string, or numbers. Right? And with the advance in technologies, now we are beginning to analyze data that are in the form of a video, images, and audio. Right? That actually makes data science even more challenging and interesting. Right? And as you look at data, okay, at the beginning, it's just like oil in the raw form, but it's of little value unless you know how to process the oil and refine the oil into a petrol that can power the world. Right? Here we have got big data, and look at this big data. It's just simply overwhelming with 50 lines of records of data, and we are just don't know where to see, where to start, and whether what trend, what patterns is it showing, right? So it's very difficult for us to analyze. Okay, so the four big characteristics about big data is the four V's. As we see, big data are the huge, enormous volumes of data that we need to analyze, versus okay, the kind of fast and furious data streaming that we are getting from all over the different source, as well as the different form of data, structured and unstructured data that we will be bombarded with, as well as to require to analyze. Okay, the other V that we talk about will be the velocity about the data, which is whether the data are expired or whether the data is false or correct, right? So these are the various challenges that we have to deal with in terms of the big data. And who's generating all this data? As mentioned before, the social media, the networks, these are constantly being streaming with a lot of data that we need to analyze, as well as the mobile phone that we have been using all along, and as well as all the sensors, IoT devices, which will be feeding a lot of binary or text stream information that we will be monitoring. Right, here is some application of data science. Okay, and with so much data that's being stored in the cloud, many industries are now looking at all this data to see how they can leverage on these valuable data and how can they make sense with this data to make it more informed choice. In the manufacturing industries, they are very focused on trying to find out what is the manufacturing defects or potential problem that they can be having, or the e-commerce, they try to identify the consumer behavior, and banking sectors, they will love to analyze some of this credit risk modeling, as well as transport industries, they would want to have some car monitoring system. So you can see there are many applications surrounding this data science. What spurred this explosive in the use of data science is basically, other than the big amount of data that need to be processed, but also with the advancement in developments of complex technique that to assist us in analyzing statistics, algorithm for prediction, and to simulate some tests. Something like the time series analysis. With all these developments, it makes us much easier to analyze some of the records, right? So you can see over here, the third development is actually the explosion of computation power, as well as the chip in storing data. So with these three developments, it actually have this potential in the area of data science. Right? In data mining, we actually follow this CRISP process, where we actually go through the process of first understanding the business objective, and then be able to understand the data, know what data to be collect, as well as to prepare the data in terms of data pre-processing, and model the the data in the form of various techniques and evaluate them before we deploy it. Here is a use case on data analytics in car maintenance. Right? In the past, we used to analyze the car. We used to send car for repair on a fixed schedule, right? Such as 6 months, or when the car has run up to about 100 kilometers, okay, before we decided to send the car for maintenance. But nowadays, if you look at the car, the smart cars are all installed with smart sensors that has the ability to collect data from all the engine status, okay, the fuel consumption, the tire pressure, etc. And it's well informed to be able to even tell you that there are some equipment or machinery that is failing, and to basically preempt you to send the car for services before something bad happened. So these are all the intelligence that can be provided, okay, in data analytics to let you make more informed choice. Right? A closer look at the data analytics stage will be the 2Ds and 2Ps. Right? The first D, of course, is to the descriptive, the data, having the data to describe what happened about the car, like how many vehicles break down this year, versus why are the diagnostics, where we are looking at why are they more machine breaking down, okay? And we will look, after the diagnostic, we will look deep into the predictive methods where machines, okay, which machines is likely to break down, as well as the most important, which is actually the prescriptive. Okay, this is where we don't just want to predict, but we also want to know, in this case, which machine should I target to prevent it from breaking down, to do some preemptive measures. In data preparations, there's actually 3 steps. The usual is data cleaning. When we know that sometimes, a lot of times, when we collect the raw data, they are quite messy. They don't come in with very nice stream of data. Some of them are missing value, redundant, duplicated values, inconsistent data. And these are some of the things that we need to clean, as well as we need to do some data integration, performing some data transformation, such that we can convert the data into a format that we require before we can start analyzing. And these are important steps, because garbage in, if we don't clean the data properly, garbage in, garbage out, we won't be able to analyze properly. And luckily, okay, we have RapidMiner tools. This is an interface from RapidMiner tools that can help us in these areas of data cleansing, right? I mean, if you have just only a few hundred records, it's easy to spot missing value. But if you have RapidMiners, it's able to give you the statistics, okay, or even analyze the data to help in your cleaning by telling you how many missing data in a particular field, like this page. Right? It has about 200 over missing value, where people didn't fill it. Camping, there's about 1,000 over fields that people didn't fill in. Right? So you might make some choice of whether that if there's too many missing value, you might want to discard this column totally. Right? So these are valuable tools to help you in data cleansing. In part of data cleansing, it's also important that we also observe some Personal Data Protection Act, okay, such as masking out, okay, NRIC, date of birth. These are sensitive data that we want people to. We don't want to offend people, or we don't want to basically to release some of this data. So sometimes when we want to release this data, we have to ensure that there is some Data Protection Act. And this is also done during the data cleansing. Right? So making sense, okay, of data is actually part and parcel of a data scientist, right, team, where they use advanced data analytic tool to help them to predict, to model, as well as to predict future outcome. Okay, in any case, this is a scientific proven process of transforming data into some valuable insight by using some data visualization tools like this, right? So it's always good to have some data visualization, because it helps, okay, in terms of detecting any pattern or see any trend. Okay, here we have got RapidMiner interface that even help us, okay, to normalize the data, to transform the data into a database form, easier for us to manipulate as well as to filter, right? And it basically can be piped into some predictive modeling like decision trees, apply the model, as well as going through some cross compilation to be able to determine the performance of the predictions and how accurate it is and how precise is it, right? In some of these predictive modeling techniques, we actually use the supervised learning methods. Okay, so in a supervised methods, okay, learning method, we actually use regressions or k nearest neighbors algorithm, where most of the inputs are being labeled and tagged so that we predict from there. In an unsupervised learning, the input data are actually mostly unlabeled. So it leave it to the algorithm to basically make some sense, okay, of the image or of the thing. And this, they usually use the k-means clustering, for example, to be able to cluster whether this is a dog or a cow, okay, by feeding in a lot of unlabeled data and leaving them to make some sense of what is the result of this data. Okay, the other types of classification are the linear regressions. Okay, this is where we have a linear relationship between the independent as well as the dependent variable, right? So where you have got try to fit a line, okay, in a scattered plot method. Okay, so and we have got these logistics regressions where it's a dependent variable where we want to look at binary output, either 0, 1, true or false or yes. So you can see this as curve, right? And there's also the polynomial regressions when you have a power of independent variable that is more than one, and it's basically like an exponential or kind of curve, where a linear regression might not be able to do the proper modeling. Right? In Taboo, it's also good to know that Taboo has the predictive modeling, where in this case, it's actually trying to look at the graph, okay, such as this graph, okay, where it can actually do projections, okay, into the future by using certain table calculations such as a model quantile or percentile, okay, that can actually generate predictions as well as based on the relationship of the data that is before. Okay, so data science, as we mentioned earlier, data is no longer just text and string only. Okay, data science has progressed in such a state that it can even use AI or machine learning to do image processing, to basically look at the images and to be able to do appropriate analysis. Like now, if you look at this, doesn't mean that a 3 black dot in a triangular form is a dot, right? So if that's the case, then you'll find that some of the images like this cupcake, chocolate cupcake, will be mislabeled, right? So it's also important to look at other attributes and be able to get this machine learning in to help to make a decision making or fine tune the decision making algorithm. Okay, here I just want to mention about some of the data analytic projects that I supervise, right? In my polytechnics, I also take on some of these analytic projects, right, where the students are required to come up with problem statements, as well as eventually come up with some hypotheses, like which they try to prove, okay, try to validate, okay, by using this dashboard from the Taboo. Such as this, the difficulties of buying a BTO is increasing in Singapore. So they use storyboard and dashboard using the geographical map, geospatial map, stack bar chart, or tree maps, okay, to basically help to validate their hypothesis, whether it's true, right, or wrong. Okay. So after hearing so much about data science, so data science can analyze, can predict. So can data science be used to predict 4D or total, right? A lot of times when I use the Mentimeter, a lot of students tend to say, hey, maybe they were quite convinced about my teaching, that they believe that data science one day, by analyzing enough data strike numbers that have struck before, they might be able to predict. Obviously, it's not going to happen, right? Otherwise, I won't be here looking for a job, right? So here you have, okay, got an application, okay, that says that no, this is not true. And I think there's also the important concept that I like to let students know that, okay, not everything can use data science to analyze, okay, especially when Toto and 4G, there is no correlationship with the past record. So it's really a waste of time to try to use data science, right, to predict the number. However, in horse betting, that could be a different ball game, okay, where you can actually analyze the strength of the horse, okay, the speed of the horse, okay, prior to their behavior, and be able to have a bet on which horse will win, have a higher chance to win. But the problem, of course, is Singapore pool will actually put in the odds so that not many people will win, right? Even if you win, okay, you don't win big. Okay, one other project, okay, that I embarked on is actually the e-commerce advisors, where I actually come up with a program, okay, to basically analyze e-commerce website. We actually make use of the analytic Google to monitor an e-commerce website. So you can see the dashboard over here where it shows some user attributes. Okay, where are the visitors coming from United States, India, Canada, and how long has been spending on the website, okay, as well as some statistics. So with all these statistics being collected, we will be able to advise, okay, the e-commerce owner on how to improve their website, the attractiveness or the stickiness of their website. So like viewer durations, right? So we can actually propose that maybe you can, in order to improve the viewer durations, okay, we can actually put in more videos so that more visitors can stick on to their website, okay, for a bit longer, right? Or more interesting or gamify the website so that people will spend more time on their e-commerce. Another student-funded project that I have been embarking on is actually the stock price predictions, okay, using AI. In this project, we actually use deep learning as well as a sentimental analysis for predicting stock price, right? So, well, in a way, we actually make use of the SG Investor. We don't actually look at the stock price, but we basically look at the analyst reports such as this sginvestor.com. Okay, and this website basically gives a kind of information as whether you should sell, hold, or buy the stock. Okay, by having these attributes that we basically scrape using a UI path, okay, and save it into an Excel format, we are able to tabulate over time that how accurate are all these investor researchers, okay, in their predictions, in their recommendations. And after some times, we are able to give a rating for certain recommendations agencies, such as this or Maybank. They have been very good in their recommendation accuracies, and that can actually form a very good information for any stock stock buyers, right? So that they will not tend to listen to this investment analysts. Well, I have created a lot of e-learning content, okay, as well as lectures, versus a lot of this data analytic workshop that has been published on my YouTube studio, as you can see over here, right? And these are some more of my taboo workshop as well as rapid minder workshop that I've conducted, and I actually video them, okay, on the workshop, on the step-by-step, so that students can actually learn a little bit more, okay? They can actually rewind, play forward, and review on some of the workshop, okay, even before their practical tests. Okay, here are more of my e-learning materials and various teaching subjects on the Poly e-learning platform, okay, where I teach about entrepreneurship, risk management, emerging technology synthesis, okay, market research, technology trend, etc., or even consumer experience analysis. Right, one last thing that I'd like to share is basically the Gestalt principle. Data scientist has actually got the powerful way to influence a decision maker by using, if they know how to use this Gestalt principle, by choosing the appropriate chart and be able to present their data. So if you look at these numbers over here, right, it really depends on which aspects are you coming from, right? Are you looking from the top or looking from the this side, right? It says different numbers, right? So same for this chart. If you look at this chart, okay, this chart tells that Iraq is a bloody dangerous place, right? And if you were to invert this chart, okay, the same data set but it's just been inverted, right? But and change them into something more cooling color, right? You find that not that Iraq is not so bad after all. It's the death, the war is on the decline. Okay, not many people are it's not so dangerous, right? And the blue color is kind of giving people a more soothing feeling, right? Another chart that can be contented with is basically look at this chart. They are again the same data set, okay, but you just arrange them differently according to the different columns, right? In this case, I arrange them in the ascending order and this in the declining order, right? And this is a randomized. You'll find that people will tend to present this graph, right? Especially if you're in the sales, because this will give the boss the impression that your sales are moving up, even though rearranging this column doesn't really matter, okay? So, and this wouldn't be a very nice chart to show your sales director, isn't it? Right. So one last thing, of course, is the Kahoot. Usually I use Kahoot quiz as a form of a recap for the audience so that they will be able to understand the topic that I teach. So this is just one aspect where I teach students about the Gestalt principle, okay, on chart, forming the chart. And with that, I thank you.